The Young and the Restless spoilers next week, September 23rd to 27th. The day of Devin and Abby's wedding had finally arrived, and while it was supposed to be a celebration of love and commitment, a storm was brewing beneath the surface. For weeks, there had been whispers of doubt and tension. Devin had always been the steady, reliable figure in Abby's life, and their connection had grown strong. But as they stood on the brink of their future together, dark clouds loomed, threatening to tear everything apart. Abby had poured her heart into this day, believing that marrying Devin would bring them both the stability and happiness they craved. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There was an uneasiness in Devin's eyes, a distance she couldn't quite explain. And though she had tried to push the doubts aside, they gnawed at her, growing stronger with each passing hour. Devin, too, was struggling. He loved Abby, but his heart was conflicted, tangled in emotions he couldn't fully control. His feelings for another had resurfaced, someone who wasn't Abby. The temptation was undeniable, and though he tried to convince himself that it meant nothing, he knew deep down that if Abby ever found out, there would be no coming back from it. She would never forgive him. As the wedding ceremony approached, the tension was palpable. Guests began to arrive, each with their own agenda, their own secrets. Among them was Martin, a figure from Devin's past who had been quietly sabotaging Devin's life for months. Martin had always harbored a deep resentment toward Devin, believing that he had stolen the life Martin deserved. And now, Martin saw the wedding as his chance to finally destroy Devin's happiness. But Martin wasn't the only one with doubts. Ashley, Abby's mother, had never been fully supportive of the marriage. She had seen too much heartbreak in her daughter's life, and though she didn't despise Devin, she feared that Abby was rushing into something that would end in disaster. Ashley, fiercely protective of her daughter, considered intervening. Could she stop the wedding before it was too late? The explosive confrontation. As the ceremony began, everything seemed picture-perfect, at least on the surface. Abby stood radiant in her gown, Devin by her side, his expression unreadable. But beneath the polished exterior, emotions were boiling over. Halfway through the vows, the church doors swung open with a loud crash. All eyes turned toward the entrance, where Martin stood, his face twisted with anger. "Stop this wedding," he shouted, his voice echoing through the hall. Gasps filled the room as Abby and Devin exchanged shocked looks. Martin stepped forward, his eyes locked on Devin. "You don't deserve her. You've been lying, Devin. You've been hiding things from her. And I think it's time everyone knew the truth." Abby's heart pounded in her chest, fear gripping her. "What is he talking about, Devin?" she asked, her voice trembling. Devin tried to respond, but before he could speak, Ashley stood up from her seat, her face pale. "Maybe this wedding shouldn't be happening," she said softly, her voice full of uncertainty. The room fell into chaos. Guests whispered among themselves, unsure of what was happening. Devin, caught between the weight of his secrets and his love for Abby, stood frozen. Abby, overwhelmed and heartbroken, looked at Devin, searching his face for answers. "Is this true? Is there something you're not telling me?" Devin couldn't lie anymore. His betrayal was written all over his face, and in that moment, Abby knew. She didn't need to hear the details. The wedding, the future she had dreamed of, was over before it even began. Victor and Victoria, a father's desperate pursuit. Elsewhere, the power struggle between Victor and Victoria was escalating. Victoria had grown tired of her father's relentless ambition, his refusal to stop chasing after power even at the expense of his own family. She had warned him time and time again to let go of his obsession, to be content with what he had. But Victor was a man who could never be satisfied. And now, his fixation on controlling everyone around him, including Victoria, was driving a wedge between them. As the tension between father and daughter mounted, Victoria found herself increasingly protective of Billy. She knew that her father saw Billy as nothing more than a nuisance, an obstacle to be removed. But Victoria couldn't let that happen. No matter how much Victor tried to manipulate the situation, Victoria was determined to stand by her husband. "You need to stop this, Dad," Victoria had told Victor the night before Devin's wedding. "Be happy with what you have. Don't destroy our family just because you're chasing after something more." Victor had barely acknowledged her words, his mind already focused on his next move. But Victoria wasn't about to let her father ruin everything she had fought for. She would protect Billy.